Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Does somebody like to move the minutes?
So moved.
All those in favor? Contrary, carried. Okay, next meeting, April the 26th, 2022, and the first item on the agenda, Environment Enhancement Grant Program. Alex.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. I'm actually going to allow my colleague, Mr. Magnus Sinclair, to present the report.
Oh, okay.
Thanks,
I didn't
Alex.
see him here.
Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Magnus Sinclair, Coordinator of Parks Programs. I have nothing further to add to the report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great report. Any questions from committee?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Okay.
I do.
Bill and then Michael.
Yeah.
Bill, Michael, and Carol.
I'm very pleased to see that there were 14 applications and the request of $32,000. Is this the same amount that we're going to be budgeting each year? And of the money that was not spent, the whatever $8,400, is that going to stay in this account?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor McNulty, it is planned that the budget for this will remain at $35,000 annually. The remaining funding will remain in this account. It will go back into the funding for city grants.
Well, I guess my question is, I think we should be, if we're going to continue environmental and we get lots of applications, I think we're going to have to increase it. It's always nice to have a little extra money. Was there any consideration, even though the Jewish Day School was looking at trees on their property and that kind of thing, do we have anything where people might want to put community gardens in and trees, etc., on a property that, even though it's private, that would enhance the beauty of the community and enhance our environmental direction? Do we have anything in that line? Or we have thought of going in that line?
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty, at this time, we have no plans to allow access for the enhancement of private property through this grant funding. We can certainly take it under advisement and certainly report back.
Okay. All right. I'm glad everybody basically got everything. I think everybody got everything they asked for, didn't they? All right. I'm pretty sure I was looking, except for the Jewish Day School. Didn't get anything. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Michael.
Thank you. Through the chair, a few questions that follow the line that we just heard. So the first one is we were just told that the amount that wasn't used in this round is going to go back into the grant program. So that's the general grant program. So therefore, there's no top up, there's no additional in this category, because clearly this is the first year a lot of people are just learning that this exists. I for one, was part of the council liaison for the Richmond Arenas Community Association, and they were hoping to actually do a native planting project, but they realized it was just too late to get their subcommittee focused on this for this year. So I know for certain there's groups that did not apply, but will be keen for next year. So a question about that budget again. Is it considered set at 35,000, or could there be direction from committee today to look to increase that?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, it is my understanding that the recommendation can be made to increase grant funding if the desire is to do so.
Thank you. My follow-up question on that, through the chair. I know there were maximum amounts that were available for the societies to apply for, and many of them got that upper limit of $2,500. But later in the agenda today, for example, in some art societies for the art grants, they were getting in upwards of $9,400 for an annual grant. And I see the value in the 2,500. We can spread it to more groups to do more things on public space. But the concern I have is we have some funding right now that we can't use, and it's kind of awkward to say, oh, let's give it to the one society that asked for more than they got, because that didn't happen. Everybody got the highest that they asked for. So for an example, one group that did apply, the Green Teams of Canada, their budget is going to go towards one event. Would it be possible for us to give them double the funding to do 2 events or 3 events with the double amount of money?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, for this round of grant funding, the limit was set at $2,500. If there is direction to increase their funding, staff can certainly look into that.
Okay, thank you. And then my final question is in regards to the amount of, in the report it mentions that there were lots of individuals who applied, but they didn't feel attached to a society or didn't have a society apply for them, and that you're asking to increase the budget of $5,000 for those 10 individual projects that will be selected next year. I would make a request to committee to at minimum top this fee of $35,000 up to $40,000 at minimum. I'd entertain more, but I think just that we're going to acknowledge 10 great individual projects next year. I think that should be in addition to the type of projects we received in our inaugural year, which I'm very impressed with. No comments required. I'll take that to committee after the other comments. Thanks.
Through the chair, perhaps I can just clarify to Councillor Wolf that any addition or increase in the program budget would go through the budget process rather than a decision necessarily being made at this time. So we could go and look at it in the context of all the other budgets as we look forward.
Okay, Carol.
Thank you very much. To the chair, to staff. Okay, so I see there's basically a balance of $6,000 plus left in the account. Can a group such as, and I'm thinking of it specifically, Our Savior Lutheran Church on number 4 Road. Last year I was there for the ribbon cutting for their pollinator garden, and they are a nonprofit. Could they come in now, like after the date, and still apply for 2022 funding?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, at this time they would not be able to apply for this round of grant funding. They would have to apply next year. I can't vote on this committee because I don't belong to it, but I think you should change that, because given that a lot of people may have missed the deadline, they weren't even aware of it. Had I been aware of this, I would have sent it to that particular group. Maybe have, for this one time only, have an extension to say June 1st, because most projects that are of this nature were going to be planted by then. I don't know. I think you should consider expanding the deadline to June 1st.
Through the chair to Councillor Day, and perhaps this is to Councillor Wolf's previous comment as well. There have been times, I think this was one program that Marie administrated previously, where we did run a second intake when there was funding left over, and certainly staff could do that with the remaining funds, rather than on the fly deciding to allocate funds to one organization or another today.
Is that a staff initiative, or do you need a council motion for that?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, given that the funds are there and council has already provided them for the program, staff could go ahead and do a second intake with or without direction.
Oh, good. Great news. I'll let them know. Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds good to me too. I donated some good old commoner to the pollinator garden, so they were quite happy to get it. Okay, anything further, Linda?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to staff. Well, thank you very much for the report. I think it was a really good first year. I think there was some really exciting projects, so I'll be looking forward to seeing the results of that. Now, in the end, the end of the report, or PRCS 68, so successful applicants will have to do a year-end final report, and that will go, I guess, against any grants that they apply for. Is that correct?
To the chair, to Councillor McPhail, to clarify, yes, they will have to submit a final report, which will include the standard report that all the city grants processes go through.
Can you tell us a little bit about the scoring for this?
Certainly, through the chair to Councillor McPhail, the scoring was conducted by a group of staff that span across sustainability and parks for the most part, and we assessed each individual application objectively, and then created a matrix which essentially mimicked the existing city grant program in order to fairly justify the application of grants to each project.
Great, thank you. I'm not in favor of changing the criteria on the fly, and I was going to suggest a second intake, which has already been brought up because we have done that in the past, and I think the balance is almost 5,000, 4,900. So perhaps one or two other grants, could be given out. I'm glad the general manager, Ms. Luff, clarified where extra money would come from, because I find it ironic that a councillor who voted against the budget is suggesting that we increase this budget. So I would be happy to see this come through budget discussions in the future. Thank you.
Okay, anything else from committee?
Oh, Lord.
Somebody like, all those in favor?
Recommendation.
Yeah, all those in favor, contrary carried. Okay, next item is the that's what we just did, the Art Services year-end in review.
Hello, I'm very pleased to present our annual year-end review. I have nothing to add to the report. However, we do have a short video that I understand clerk has queued up for us.
I figured you would have. love to see your arts videos. They're really good.
Richmond Art Services is guided by Artworks, Richmond Art Strategy, which envisions an art scene that animates our city every day, offers rich arts education and experiences, festivals and events, fosters social connections and wellness, builds arts and culture leadership, and provides creative spaces. By connecting highlights from 2021 with the 5 strategic directions of the art strategy, this video will illustrate how art works in Richmond as we continue to offer meaningful engagement with the arts through ever-changing pandemic conditions.
With hundreds of courses, 11 resident art groups, the Children's Arts Festival, exhibitions, and more, the Richmond Arts Center is a leader in the field of affordable and accessible professional arts education and community arts development. In 2021, virtual, outdoor, and in-person programs ran throughout the year.
In the Media Lab, members of the Richmond Youth Media Program logged over 1,300 hours learning media skills for free and putting them to creative use with a new music video contest and a winning entry in the annual WorkSafe BC Student Safety Video Contest.
Richmond Art Gallery is a nationally recognized municipal gallery known for its diverse array of exhibitions and public programs that engage with issues and ideas of importance to our community.
In 2021, the gallery continued to offer tours in person and online, including in Mandarin. Over the summer, Imperfect Offerings presented hundreds of broken ceramic and natural objects reassembled through the Japanese art of kintsugi.
This popular exhibition resonated with our collective journey through the COVID-19 pandemic, mirroring our own fragility, recovery, and careful return to society.
Meanwhile, as part of Capture Festival on the Canada Line, the gallery presented The Misfits by Catherine Dong,
a play on Chinese textile art that explores issues of gender and culture,
and The Left Space by artist Brendan Fernandez, a dazzling mix of patterns evoking a sense of both urgency and solidarity.
In order to strengthen the infrastructure of Richmond's arts and culture organizations and support a wide range of creative activity, the 2021 Arts and Culture Grants Program invested $116,815 through operating and project assistant grants to 20 nonprofit arts organizations.
The Arts and Culture e-Blast provided more than 500 subscribers with practical news and opportunities in the arts and culture sector, such as training, artist calls, and funding resources.
As well, free professional development and networking opportunities through the Art at Work program and the Gallery's Artist Salon series addressed career development, financial management, and more.
Richmond's signature festivals encouraged creativity and showcased local artists, both online and on-site as conditions allowed.
In 2021, artists connected with students, library visitors, newcomers, and LGBTQ youth through the Engaging Artists in Community program.
Richmond Arts Awards recipients were again profiled via Instagram. National Indigenous Peoples
A hands-on stop-motion animation activity creating dancing Lego characters.
And throughout the year, Branscombe House artist-in-residence Rachel Rosansky sparked conversations about the arts and environment with workshops on printmaking, weaving, zine making, and more.
In 2021, new civic public artworks included From Earth to Water, an integrated artwork along the Alexander Greenway inspired by Chinese ornamental patterns and local plants and animals. And through the Private Development Public Arts Program, we added 5 new works including Water Off a Duck's Back by Douglas Copeland.
Community art public programs like utility box wraps and Number 3 Road art columns added vibrancy to Richmond's outdoor spaces while showcasing the work of Richmond artists.
And the city's mural program really took off this year with no fewer than 6 community-informed works completed, including Stages of Bloom at the Gateway Theatre.
The Richmond Arts Strategy guides decision-making to empower ideas, people, and resources around a shared vision, led by the guiding principles of excellence, sustainability, creativity, accessibility, inclusivity, community building, and celebration.
The arts help us to achieve community goals in economic development, health, and well-being as we boast a richly diverse and multifaceted community. And they are essential to Richmond's aspiration to be the most appealing, livable, and well-managed community in Canada.
Great, thanks. Okay, any comments to make on the report? Any, Linda?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to staff. Well, another fantastic video, and I sure hope this can come, to a council meeting so that all of council can see it and that the public will be able to enjoy it as well. I think it's amazing, and I think the Richmond Youth Media Program just does outstanding work. And I just wanted to congratulate you for, I think one of the highlights that I really appreciated was on our PRCS 74, the 23 Richmond-based artist contracted for public art commissions in the year. I think that's outstanding, and it must be one of the highest number to date. So congratulations, and it's great to see that there are so many, local Richmond artists applying for commissions here in Richmond. Thank you.
Okay, any committees from other councillors?
Move the recommendation. So
Moved, seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Contrary, carried. Okay, next item, the program plan for the Japanese duplex, and we've all received a letter from the Britannia Shipyard Society in support. So let's hear about that one.
The Chair, I have nothing further to add to the report, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Whoops. Any question from anybody? Okay, I just want to make a comment. And Bill, I'm probably speaking for Bill too. The Cornerstone report recommended this in 1999, and it's taken us 23 years to get there. As a relief, we're finally there. But we rebuilt the deck and the piles all alongside the Pacific Coast Cannery, expecting this to happen. And then they rotted away, and we have to rebuild them again. But finally, I think we've got our act together, and it sure makes me happy. I don't know about the rest of the committee, but I'm just so delighted to see that we're going to set up this as an entranceway as recommended, and that gives us the entranceway to the docks as well for any boat moorage, the whole bit. It's a great plan. Okay, Bill, you can go next.
Yeah, well, thank you, Harold. I'm very happy to see it too. Actually, it actually goes back to 1989 when Bob Ransford was on that volunteer committee that you set up way back.
That's right.
And we looked at it. We wanted roses around the roadway, and we wanted Britannia as a destination point. I don't even know if that report still exists anymore. I do have a copy of it. No, I'm very pleased to see it. I hope that we will do something in terms of the Japanese bunkhouse as well. You know, or not the Chinese bunkhouse, and you know, we talk about a Chinese museum. We already have one, and I think for anybody that has actually spent any time up there, it's a museum second to none. But you're not going to go through it in 10 minutes. Okay, if you spend an hour up there with me, or an hour and a half, you'll get to see Chinese history. And there's just so much to see. And I hope we're going to do similar things along the way. I know interpretive signage is okay, but I have no problem with us putting things out. But inside, I know we got the Murakami House. It really doesn't tell the full story. For those that were around when the Murakami sister came over, and we did the tea dance out on the wharf. For those that will remember that when she was alive, and it was a CBC presentation, and Richmond and Britannia shipyards were featured. So I think we need to embellish the history as much as we can in that light. And the same when we get to the First Nations. I think we need to do that. We already have a standard, and I think we need to reach that standard. I'm going to go with this report. I think it's great. We're interpretive, but I think there's also more we can do. Okay, thank you.
Good. Linda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to staff. I do have a couple of comments and questions. Well, I think it's a great report, and I support the recommended option number one. Now, and I think it's a fantastic idea to have a front desk because, you know, I walk there several times a week, and there's always people, early morning, late afternoon, and I think it would be great to have that central hub where people can go check in. Now, is it envisioned that it will continue to be our volunteers, or are we looking at paid people, paid employees in that section, or have we not come to that yet?
Through the chair to Councillor McPhail, I think the next steps will be to get into more detailed planning about how operations will work. There's certainly an opportunity to have a mix of volunteers and staff to support that particular aspect.
I mean, we have some incredible volunteers down there, and I think what you suggested is a great idea. I think the opportunity, you know, to have Britannia Shipyards branding, and so that retail space, I'm sure people would gobble up all the stuff down there, mugs and shirts and hats. I think it's great. My last question is, in next steps, it says staff will come back with a report as part of a future budget process. Is that the upcoming one, like 2023, or do you need more time, 2024?
Through the chair to Councillor McPhail, I'll turn that over to my colleague in project development, Jim Young, to respond.
Chair to Councillor McPhail, we do anticipate as a best case scenario that we can probably advance the design far enough to understand what the cost may be. We also do have permitting that is likely a requirement, and one of them is the mineral permit, and that can take up to 2 years. And so in terms of our timing of budgeting, it may make more sense once we understand the full requirements of that permitting to submit that budget request at a later date.
Great, thanks for that explanation.
Andy?
Oh, thanks, and through the chair. Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment thanking staff and stakeholders for the report. I think it was an excellent report. I'm really happy with recommendation number 1, even though I don't vote today. And we all saw the letter from the board as well. And there's been many past conversations with various stakeholders down there about this issue and other issues. And I think there's a lot of support in the community. And I think the board, as the letter said, is unanimous. So I think it was great. I was really pleased to see that recommendation. So thank you.
Carol?
Thank you very much. Through the chair, yeah, when this comes to council, I'll be supporting option 1 as well if this is passed today. My question was, one of the purposes of this new facility is to provide laundry and shower facilities to support boat moorage at Britannia Shipyard docks. Has that got going yet? Because I know we were going to hire a staff member to promote and run that portion of the Britannia Shipyards.
Through the chair to Councillor Day, we anticipate the job posting for that position to go out any day now, and we'll be actively recruiting for good people.
Okay, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Okay, somebody like to move the motion? All those in favor? Contrary, carried. Okay, Alexa Liu has a motion she wanted to bring forward about training a lifeguard.
Yeah, I'd like to Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, thanks. I'd like to just preface this a little bit by saying, you know, I registered my kids for swim lessons and I was on at exactly 8 o'clock, like the crazy mother that I am. And by 8:02, I was on a wait list already for all the swimming lessons. And then, you know, as you know, I sit on the Aquatic Advisory Board, and one of the things that came up is that we're woefully understaffed for instructors and lifeguards. And so this is apparently a problem throughout the Lower Mainland. And so my referral is for staff to look into the training and hiring of more lifeguards and instructors, and creating a program to support the training costs for low-income Richmond people or Richmond youth from low-income families. And so my, you know, staff is already working on a... Someone else to make that referral. What are you doing, Bill?
Second.
Going there, I've disconnected it, but it's seconded.
You probably have to be the one to make it because I'm not actually on Parks and Rec.
Oh, I'll say so moved.
And so
Okay, we've got.
if I just may speak to it a little bit, I know staff was looking into maybe working with the schools to create a bit of a program to allow kids to qualify as a lifeguard as part of their phys ed credit. And one of the thoughts that I had is I hope that the financial burden, and I think it's about $2,000 if you go from beginning to end of your Bronze Cross, Bronze Medallion, all the things you have to do to become a lifeguard, if that would be something holding back some of our students to be able to get that. And, you know, certainly we wouldn't want that to be something standing in the way. I think it's a huge opportunity. I think we're short a lot of lifeguards and instructors, and my understanding is it's $36 an hour to be a lifeguard. So that's $70,000 a year for a full-time job. It's a good job. And so if we can help some low-income people to get going and become lifeguards here in Richmond, I think that would be a benefit to us and a benefit to them. So it's not a handout, it's a handout.
Council wages. Good.
Yeah, having been a lifeguard many years ago, I think it's very important, and it's always been a problem to find lifeguards. I was a lifeguard before we had any swimming pools in Richmond. I took a course in being a lifeguard for at a scout camp, and they were so short of lifeguards in Vancouver, they talked me into being a lifeguard in Vancouver once or twice a week in the evening. And that was then, and this is now. So I think it's really important that we have enough lifeguards to go around. So certainly I think it's a good idea to look into this. Okay, so we put a motion then to refer this to staff. All those in favor? Contrary, carried. Oh, Linda, you wanted to talk first, did you? I had your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I am initially supporting it, but we have had memos from staff on the issue, and as Councillor Liu mentioned, this is something that we've heard is, across the Lower Mainland, probably across the province. Now, have staff been looking at initiatives already? I mean, aside from the looking to support lower income youth, but have staff got any initiatives underway already?
Through the chair to Councillor McPhail, staff have been looking at a number of issues. Councillor Liu mentioned that we are working with the school district on developing a curriculum-based program where students would get credit towards a PE type program that would enable them to be a qualified lifeguard. We've ramped up the number of courses that we're running. No one's running, I've been told no one's running more courses in BC than Richmond is to try to certify more lifeguards. And then we're looking at some of the steps to becoming a lifeguard and creating like a flight attendant where maybe you need less type qualifications, and that would allow you to springboard and train to be a lifeguard, so you'll be able to walk into that program a little bit later on.
Good.
So I guess my question to you then is the first half of this recommendation or referral even needed, since you're already doing it? I mean, I support the second part of it, looking at how we could, help disadvantaged youth perhaps, help them towards the cost of all the courses needed. Anyways, that's just my thoughts. Thanks.
Okay, Carol.
Yeah, thank you very much. I actually have 3 family members, some nephews and a niece that all became, actually 4 of my family members became lifeguards as teenagers. And I can tell you it costs hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get through the programs and get the proper certification. Then you get a job. It's not full-time. It's part-time, and it's only seasonal in the summer in most cases. I mean, in order to have seniority to get a full-time job, you'd be one of hundreds. So as a parent, I would have been better off just to give her the money because honestly, it didn't pay off. So I think this is a great idea to help pay for these courses because it isn't actually viable for a young person to pay all this money to get the certification, and then every year you got to go back and get recertified. So I think it's a great idea because if we're short of lifeguards, the only way to make it happen is if we can make it more financially feasible. Thank you.
Yeah. Michael.
Thanks. That was good to hear from John Woolgar there. I was one of those lower qualified, they called us a tower guard working at Splashdown Water Park, but slide guard, that would work too. And my sister, she was a lifeguard, and I remember that many more hours and commitment and money that went into her training. And she worked at Watermania and Mineral Pools for many years, and I think ended up being good for her. So for this referral, I don't have the writing of it in front of us. I don't think it's come to our email. So I hesitate to vote for anything that would increase the budget. On the year I didn't support the budget, although I'm talking not supporting things that are a percentage of increase, not 0.00000% increase. But regardless, I appreciate the work staff is doing, and I also thank Elizabeth Ayres for her comment to the citizen who wrote about the challenge that Councillor Liu had around trying to apply at the moment that you're told you can, but not getting the times or the levels that you're looking to book. And so the comments there in that correspondence from Elizabeth on March 15th in the email response mentioned that creating that 2-tiered registration system where maybe Richmond residents get a priority time. That would increase the budget due to administrative time and expense and registration data and all that stuff. But I support the way staff are already closely monitoring registration data and are making adjustments on the fly. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Andy.
Thanks, and through you, the chair. Yeah, the lifeguarding issue, just comments for when it comes forward. I understand there's some kind of analysis going on right now, but I mean, I'd be interested to know, for instance, if there's other retention issues that Richmond is facing that have nothing really to do with what we've discussed so far. Is the city demand up for lifeguards? I can't imagine why our actual demand would be up, but is it up? Is it down? Has it been stable? Is there some kind of odd demographic bubble working our way through our lifeguarding staff right now? And all three of our kids were also lifeguards in Richmond. And it was mentioned earlier, one of the things about Richmond is that, as I recall, our lifeguarding standards are actually higher than a lot of other cities, or at least they were in the past. Part of the reason is, I think, because we have a water park, and so everybody is trained for that. I'm not sure what impact the new facilities had on that. So I'd be interested in those factors as well, and just some of the demographic issues and any other contributing factors that may affect our retention of lifeguards. Sometimes they just move on. So I don't know. Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion to refer? Contrary? Carried. Okay, manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do have a few, so I'll ask staff to go through quite quickly. Todd?
Through the chair of the committee, I have a couple announcements. First off, reminder about the official opening of the Garden City Lands Community Gardens next week, Monday, April the 4th. On the same day, we have the Mineral Lakes Renewal Project starting construction. And then lastly, I want to introduce to you Egan Davis, our new manager of parks operations. Egan brings 20 years of professional park, institution, and local government experience. He's a regular media presenter and educator, Red Seal horticulturist, and holds several landscape horticulture and landscape certifications. And Egan, you want to say a few words?
Thank you, Todd. Hello, Mr. Chair, and hello to the committee. I'm really happy to be working here for the city of Richmond. It's very exciting. My highlights for me are all the wonderful and talented people that I've been meeting in my first 2 weeks. And thank you for the very warm welcome. Thank you. Nice to see you all.
Welcome aboard, and glad to see another horticulturalist. Okay. Who's next?
Me. I've got two reports for you today. The first is that we have a number of new, excuse me, I'm just having a bit of a technical glitch here, my apologies. But I will say that the first one I do want to say is that we're very sorry to say goodbye to Nan Campona as our chief curator at the Richmond Art Gallery. She brought 20 years of dedicated artful service to the gallery. And starting in mid-May, we'll be welcoming Zoe Shan, who is the current assistant curator at the Vancouver Art Gallery. And she will be joining us, and we're really looking forward to welcoming her soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, through the chair to committee. I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on this year's virtual Richmond Cherry Blossom Festival that will launch on April the 10th. This year's program has been developed in collaboration with the volunteers, the festival directors from the Wakayama Kenjin Kai, and will feature how-to videos, including how to fold an origami cherry blossom, how to roll a sushi cone, how to make your own sogetsu-style ikebana flower arrangement, and much more, along with recorded musical performance and Japanese cultural demonstrations. The online program is supplemented by a social media plan that launched this week on the Cities at Fun Richmond social media channels, and includes a weekly cherry blossom update from Gary Point Park. And signage in the park will be installed in time for the April 10th launch, and it will include QR codes that will direct visitors to the park to enjoy the online program.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Who's next? Oh, Carol has a question.
Thank you very much for your report. And I realize that with COVID, things have been on hold for so long, and so I'm happy there's going to be an online program. But given that basically the world is going to open up in BC on April 8th, is it possible to move some of those virtual events on site?
through the chair to Councillor Day, we certainly do hope as the year progresses that we are able to do in-person events, and that certainly is the plan for some of our upcoming summer events. For the Cherry Blossom Festival, planning with the festival directors and as the, evolving health orders on gatherings have changed over the last few months, we felt that this was the best approach for the Cherry Blossom Festival.
I appreciate that. I just think that, people are so hungry for anything that they can do. And the reality is everything could be outdoors at the Cherry Blossom location in Gary Point. So if there's a possible to move even the most simplest thing, like maybe even having a staff member there, letting people know, like on the weekends, hey, have you seen our online presence? And we are still celebrating the Cherry Blossom Festival. Because everyone I talk to is just so done with limitations. And if there's a way to open it up even just a smidge, it would really help lift people's spirits.
Okay, thank you. Who's next?
I just wanted to share that spring break just concluded in our community services facilities. It was very well attended with a variety of programs and services. Some of the highlights, we had 1,300 kids attend day camps across the city, including such offerings as bike camps and engineering camps, arts and sports. We had some free activities for families, such as at the Nature Park, Terra Nova Play Environment, and Richmond Art Gallery. We had 3 tournaments taking place in our arenas, a total of 117 teams taking place. And we had 55,000 visits to Watermania and Mineru Center for Active Living over the 16-day period. And it was just great to see so many children and families in our facilities over this period. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jack.
I want to ask 2 questions. I don't know if staff have finished with the manager's report.
Was that the last one?
We have one more. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Want to wait for that last one?
Greg? There we go.
Go ahead.
Thank you. An update on Hugh Boyd and the courts at Hugh Boyd. Staff, based on some recent feedback from the neighbors, we are going to adjust the court lights at Hugh Boyd so that they turn off at 10 p.m. We've reached out to the Richmond Pickleball Club, and they're well aware of the change, and they will pass that information on to their 300-plus members, that there will be a slight reduction in the hours, and that is to make sure that that they remain good neighbors with the neighborhood as it relates to pickleball play at Hugh Boyd. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Jack?
Okay, I have 2 questions. The first one is, I want to know if there's any plan for resuming the walking tours on the Heritage District in Stevenson this summer. I've spoken to many people, and they were thinking about, we should have these programs back because summer is coming, things like that. So I just want to know, do we have any talks or any plans of resuming those walking tours?
Through the chair to Councillor Au, there's been a variety of different walking tours offered in Steveston over the years from different organizations. I believe that the Steveston Historical Society will be continuing the tours that they have been offering the last couple of years, but I would have to check with them to.
Okay, good. And my second question is, I remember that last year when we talked about the Maritime Museum, Maritime Festival, we talked about bringing a boat from the east, the Sea Dragon. So I don't know if there's any further talks about bringing that boat to Richmond. I know there was some obstacles, last year, but is there any progress?
Through the chair to Councillor Au, I know staff are reaching out to various vessels about participating in the Richmond Maritime Festival at this time. I will double check to see if the Sea Dragon has been included on that list and can get back to you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Michael.
Thank you. Through the chair, just a couple of questions that were related to a few of those and then one extra one. So the first one is about the lighting, so maybe to Greg. Any word on updates to lighting at Thompson Community Center? I've heard from a number of users of the lacrosse box that half the lights on one end of the court have been out for a while. Any update on that?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, yes, a service request was put in to update those, and I will have to pop by myself to have a visual check to confirm. Thank you.
Great, I appreciate it. I'm hoping to do that tonight as well. So the next one through the chair is around the Minaroo Lakes project. As it was mentioned, it's going to be sorry, that was from Todd. When the project starts, my question is the whole thing going to be fenced off all at once? I know I went to the website, went through the whole interactive site. I've had lots of positive comments on that. But is the whole thing going to be closed on that day one, or will there be sections of it over time? And then related to that, will there be signage that directs people to other parks where they can have quiet space, which is what many people do? They've just visited a loved one who's in their last days, and it's a place that they can get to quickly to feel what they're feeling.
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, perhaps I can take that on. For the Lakes project, our plan initial on day one is to fence off the whole site, and that has been gone through discussion with the contractor in terms of the impact, equipment, etc. And the very first phase that we're trying to do is dewatering of the lake. So that is quite a big undertaking. So it will be a fence off for the whole site, but staff will look at possibility of keeping any remaining areas of from fencing for public to use as long as possible. And for your second question, may you repeat that, please?
Yes, thank you. Was the signage about directing people to other places where they could get a similar feel? Thanks.
Yes, and staff has actually been working to get signage up at various critical locations around that fence area to direct visitors of the park to go to other areas with a map on it so that they would understand where to go.
Thank you. Through the chair, my next question probably for John. Over spring break, I tried to hit as many of the facilities I could. I was at the Minaroo Pool, the Watermania on the weekend. I was also hoping to go to do some public skating with the family, but every time on the website, I could only find details for the public skating schedule for the first week of spring break, but not the second. And then by the time the weekend came, I couldn't get through on the phone to anyone.
Okay. To the chair, to Councillor Wolf, thank you for pointing that out. I will certainly look into that and get back to you.
Oh, okay, Dan. So I know not all districts or schools have the same 2 weeks. It's staggered around, but for the 2 weeks of the Richmond School District, there was no detail for the second week. And then finally, my last one through the chair, related to, I didn't know where to fit this in, but Shady Island is kind of like a park space. It's kind of like an artist space. We saw it in the movie there, featured a few times. But I was there on the weekend, and incredible amounts of plastic, garbage, debris, that whatever the high tide mark was, the little meadow grass areas were just like thousands of pieces of plastic. Do we have, I know in the past we looked into having the Green Team of Canada do fee-for-service work to organize community events that park staff don't. I know that maybe not this exact location, it's a bit hard to get out there, but any thought from staff who are attending now on what we're doing to help the park space or natural space get cleaned up?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, I'm not sure of any specific program we have in place right now, but definitely through Parks programs, we can look at possibly connecting with green teams or some of our other volunteer groups, and we'll look into that for sure.
Thank you. That's all.
Carol.
Thank you very much. Through the chair, when you're doing that map to direct people from the Mineru Lakes area to other water feature areas, please remember the Gardens Park at 5 and Steveston and the Garden City Park at Granville Avenue, because I have to say, especially the one on 5 and Steveston, almost nobody goes there, and it's a beautiful water feature. My question, though, what I wanted to ask about is basically, the growing season has already started, you know, tulips and, or not tulips, daffodils and whatnot are coming up. Is there any place in Richmond that citizens can acquire dirt that has come from recycled garden waste? I remember there was something about on Sidaway Road at one point, there was a city facility, but I don't think that was open to the public.
Through the chair to Councillor Day, I know Public Works was doing some initiative. I'd have to check in with that group and get back to you.
Great, because in Vancouver, that's what they do, and I think in Delta at the Vancouver landfill, they also offer dirt. And even if you have to charge for it, I think it would be nice to have dirt from a recycled material, since everybody's so into that these days.
Yeah, if I could comment on that, there's something I was hoping to bring up sometime in the future. When we had Harvest Power and their anaerobic digester, before Harvest Power went in, we had an agreement with the company that built the anaerobic digester to recycle our yard waste and garden waste and stuff, tree clippings and everything else. And we had banned herbicides and pesticides, so we had really, really clean compost. And they put the compost through the digester, and it was so clean, it was good for organic farming, gardens, and everything. And that was available to us. Street Digs Farm was using it in their organic gardens, and it was really great. After Harvest Power took over, and they put all kinds of dirty stuff into the digester along with our clean stuff, and then we booted them out to Surrey. Our good compost is now going to Delta, not Surrey, I should say. And I'm wondering if there isn't a way we couldn't get some of our compost again so that we're able to produce it for our own city, because that was our intent way back 20 years ago. But right now it's going to Surrey and or going to Delta, and it's getting mixed up. Burnaby waste is just dreadful, full of plastic and garbage, and some of the other communities don't clean their compost at all. And we're losing a really good product. So it's just something to think about. I think I made a referral about the go-kart track a couple of years ago might be available, and they said it would be after they finished building the animal shelter or something like that. So it's something we really should be looking at. Anyway, anything else from committee? Looks like we're time to go home. I'm going to go home.
Move adjournment.
Adjourn. All those in favor? Contrary, we're adjourned and I'm home. I don't know about the